Psalm 39 for the chief musician, Jeduthun, a psalm of David. I said, I will watch my ways so that I don't sin with my tongue. I will keep my mouth with a bridle while the wicked is before me. I was mute with silence. I held my peace, even from good. My sorrow was stirred. My heart was hot within me while I meditated. The fire burned, and I spoke with my tongue. Yahweh, show me my end. What is the measure of my days? Let me know how frail I am. Behold, you have made my days handwidths. My lifetime is nothing before you. Surely every man stands as a breath. Selah. Surely every man walks like a shadow. Surely they busy themselves in vain. He heaps up and doesn't know who shall gather. Now, Lord, what do I wait for? My hope is in you. Deliver me from all my transgressions. Don't make me be the reproach of the foolish. I was mute. I didn't open my mouth because you did it. Remove your scourge away from me. I am overcome by the blow of your hand. When you rebuke and correct man for iniquity, you consume his wealth like a moth. Surely every man is but a breath. Selah. Hear my prayer, Yahweh, and give ear to my cry. Don't be silent at my tears, for I am a stranger with you, a foreigner, as all my fathers were. Spare me that I may recover strength before I go away and exist no more. This psalm is a psalm for the chief musician, for Jeduthun. When we were back in Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 16, Jeduthun gets a mention. And David was organising the worship of the tabernacle. He was getting ready for the future temple. But there were these three guys. There was Heman, Ethan, and Jeduthun. These three people were like worship leaders in charge of tabernacle worship. And later on in the Psalms, we have a psalm of Heman, a psalm written by Heman. We have a psalm written by Ethan. But we don't have any psalms written by Jeduthun, but we do have 3 psalms written for Jeduthun. So I think David wrote the psalms, but gave them to Jeduthun, who's one of these 3 worship leaders, for singing. So it's Psalm 39, Psalm 62, Psalm 72 are the 3 psalms written for Jeduthun, who's like a worship leader. And it's a song, it's a prayer, and it's all about asking the Lord to show me or show you how frail and short and temporary life is. In verse 4, he says, Yahweh, show me my end, the measure of my days. Show me how frail I am. Now, I would say that's a very, very brave prayer. I don't know that most people want to know how their end is going to be or how long they're going to live or how, but David really asked the Lord to show him how weak he is. In the New Testament, Paul, he was writing into the Ephesians and he was praying that they would see how great the Lord's love was for them. Well, see, that's the same thing, but in the opposite terms. What David's here is praying is wanting to know how weak we are in comparison to God. Paul was praying in the New Testament that those saints would know how great God was in comparison to them. Either way, when you have a revelation of how great God is and how weak we are, it causes us to throw ourselves in with him all the more. In verse 6, he wrote, Every man walks like a shadow. They busy themselves in vain. Now, do you consider a shadow to be anything at all? A shadow isn't anything. All a shadow is just evidence that there's a light somewhere. So when a light shines, a shadow is what you get behind where the light's shining. It's actually a nothing in itself, but it's an evidence that there's a light. In verse 6, he says that we just walk like shadows. So there's a true light, Christ. Christ is the light of the world, but we're just shadows. We show that there's a light because through our lives we demonstrate that there is a light. Fortunately, in the New Testament, Jesus says that, that his light comes to dwell within us. But this shadow analogy just demonstrates that without Christ, we are nothing. We're just fleeting, we're temporary, we're vain. David's asking the Lord to show him how weak he is, and he seems to know that he's very, very weak. In verse 8 he says, Lord, deliver me from all my transgressions and don't make me the reproach of the foolish. I just want to finish with this thought in this very short psalm today. But all of us at times have had sin in our lives that we knew was there, but we didn't want anyone else to know was there. Sometimes that's because we would just be too ashamed to admit that we had that sin. But I know that as I've matured in life, sometimes I'm aware of my own weakness, and I think to myself, you know what, I don't care if other people know or not, as far as I'm concerned, but I do care about how the Lord's concerned. And I don't want people to think less of God because of me. And so I've prayed prayers like that in years past. Say, Lord, deliver me from my sins and don't let me be the reproach of the foolish. In other words, don't let me dishonor your name or bring your name down because I am so weak. So Lord, help me to be strong. And I think that's a really good prayer to pray. And you can pray that. You're aware of your own sin, your own weakness and failing, and you can say, Lord, deliver me from these things. Don't let my life be an embarrassment to you or to the gospel or to the cause of the Lord. Father, that is a prayer of ours. Help us, Lord, to live lives that represent you well, that lift up the Lord, that cause people to speak good things about you. Let much grace be at work in us and through us for the sake of the Lord. Amen.